When
5, 4,
3,
2.
1. Welcome to the Slaughterhouse of Sacred Cows. See, that's the thing that's going on inside of me. Sacred cows are ideas that cannot be questioned. So widely believed, so deeply held, that it is taboo to even discuss them. So I slaughter them. See, in a democracy, you can't have things taboo. Democracy only works if all of the information about an issue is given to the people, to the voters. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm finding there are a whole bunch of ridiculous things that are being told to people, and other things are being left out to try to convince them of a certain point of view. So I find these things, and then I bring them to you, and you get mad. Ah, that's not fair. And but you don't know where I am, so what do I care? And besides, I could probably, nah. Anyway, we're all happy here because today we have a new set. And don't ask any questions about it because the people who put this together are tough and they don't want any problems. So, see, isn't that fantastic? There's an American flag. Hi. So I think overall, this is a wonderful idea because it shows that I'm a worker. And it also shows that they torture me here. You see that stuff back there? They hook me up and they try to make me change my mind. But I won't. I promise you, my loyal viewers, I will not change my mind. I may change my clothes. I may change I don't have enough hair to change it, but I may change my glasses. But I will not change my mind. Trust me on that. Now, there are a couple of things that have been said recently. Where am I? Oh, there I am. A couple of things have been said recently that about Bush. And there's that guy over in the New York Times, Krugman, I think who was always nailing Bush. Oh boy, he knows all about everything. And he was the one who predicted that there would be another attack on the United States within just a few months of 9/11 back in 2001, because George W. Bush was so unintelligent, was so stupid. It's been 7 years, Paul Krugman. I think it's time for an apology from you, sir. Can you imagine Paul Krugman apologizing? Moi. So, anyway, that's one thing I thought I'd mention. And a couple of times on this show, I have done an examination of the way that Bush handled the war. Was he competent? Did he do a good job handling the war? You know, he did a good job keeping us safe, 7 years. Good job, George W. Bush. And in honor of you, I'll salute the flag again, by golly. And good job, Vice President Dick Cheney. And good job, Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld. By God, good job. Well, good, I'm glad I did that. I feel better. Now, when we examine the war, we find that George W. Bush had many fewer fatalities in the Iraq War in 3 years than occurred when Franklin Roosevelt, was running World War II. But of course, there are different scales of war. I know that. I just like to mention these things. So there were 300,000 U.S. fatalities in 3 years, defeating just Germany. President Truman came along, another liberal Democrat, and President Truman had 55,000 U.S. fatalities in Korea in 3 years. JFK and LBJ came along, 20,000 in Vietnam in 3 years. 300,000, 55,000, 20,000. And then George W. Bush, oh, what an awful person. Ah, so incompetent, so stupid. So how many fatalities did he have in Iraq in 3 years? Must be a whole bunch, right? Less than 3,000. 300,000, 55,000, 20,000, less than 3,000. So who's incompetent? I know that's not totally fair, but by golly, when you go after George W. Bush on this war, you go after me. You have to go through me. So, good job, George W. Bush, on that. And now, of course, as they keep saying, Barney Frank, for example, just can't stop talking about, this Iraq wars have ruined the economy, and we've got to go. We have to do this, and you know, what a... Anyway, so I looked it up. A smaller percentage of the GDP, the gross domestic product, has been spent by George W. Bush on the Iraq war than was spent by all those other wonderful presidents. They were all, by the way, liberal Democrats. 300,000, 55,000, 20,000, and that evil, conservative, oil man capitalist, less than 3,000. Well, you can keep calling him names, but I mean, the numbers tell the story. So anyway, how much money was spent? Less than, on the GDP, less percentage of the GDP was spent on the Iraq War than was spent on the Korean War or the Vietnam War. And of course, on Second World War, we were defeating Germany. But isn't that interesting? So he didn't do such a bad job on that. And then, of course, the people who hate George W. Bush say, but how about all those fatalities, civilian fatalities, violent fatalities in Iraq? So then you go through it and you find out that there were less violent civilian deaths in Iraq per 100,000 population per year than there were in pre-Katrina New Orleans, Washington, D.C., Detroit, Baltimore, and yes, Hugo, the great Hugo, then in Venezuela. So that's something that you guys should let go of, the liberals. But they won't, I know. But anyway, I keep nailing that, and a few kids will pick it up and understand. So then we get to the other things that he's accused of. He's accused of destroying the reputation of the United States throughout the world. Everybody hates this, told, because of George W. Bush and the Iraq War. And let me run through this one more time. Sarkozy, President Sarkozy in France. Chancellor Merkel in Germany. Prime Minister Berlusconi in Italy. All stressed their friendship for George W. Bush and their support of the United States of America when they ran for those offices, and they won those offices.
1 minute, John.
So anyway, I thought I'd mention those things to you. And one more thing, and we'll take this up next time I see you in more detail. I keep hearing about how terrible the torture was that George W. Bush approved. La 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 la. So I thought, well, what's the definition of torture? So I couldn't find one that made sense. So I thought I'll have a rational, non-political definition of torture. A deliberate action that causes excruciating pain and or serious injury and or death. Growling dogs, clothes removal, waterboarding do not fit that rational, non-political definition of torture. So I'm glad I had a chance to chat with you. I'll be back many times in the future. Is that a warning? No, but anyway, look, I like to do things like this. And you know, sort of. So, welcome to my little show here. I think we're done, are we?
That's a wrap. 10 minutes.
How'd it go?
That was it. It was great.
What did you think? How did the chief, what did you think?
Chief, how'd it go? Good. Said it's good.
You better say that. Okay.